So good morning and welcome to our session here on Big Ideas by the Sea in glorious Scarborough. Our session today is about inspiring women, fueling the future for business. Today we're going to be talking about or celebrating the achievement of women entrepreneurs in business, but also I'm going to be asking our panel members today what it takes to be a successful woman in business in the modern world. And we're going to be talking about the challenges that we've faced and how we've overcome them. And at the end, I think we're going to be talking a bit about, I'd like to welcome our panel members to be speaking about what opportunities there are for women in business to build businesses into the future. I'm Ros Jones. I'm a business growth coach based here in glorious Scarborough. I work with SME business leaders and their teams across Yorkshire, also the UK now thanks to the glories of Zoom. I help business owners achieve their dreams and goals, which involves helping them overcoming the challenges and obstacles that stand in their way of achieving those goals. And the three key challenges I find that business owners and their teams face are time, team, and money. Time in that, how do we find the time to focus on our business growth, while also, especially for women, fulfilling our caring responsibilities, and also how do we take care of our personal well-being as well, which is a thing that often gets neglected. Team, in that how do we find the team that we need to grow our business? How do we find the right people? How do we build and engage or build and retain highly engaged employees who share our values and share our vision to take our business into the future where we want it to go? And money. How do we find money to grow our business? How do we build our profit to reinvest into our business to take it forward to achieve our dreams and goals? There is another one, which is often mindset. So we often set limiting beliefs on ourselves that can keep us staying small. But I want to ask our panel members today what it is, how did they achieve their success in business, and what are the key challenges that they face on a daily basis, or that they've encountered on their business growth journey. So I'd like to introduce our panel members now, just to tell you a bit about them before we get going. So we have Laura Hepburn here. Laura is a director at Greenology and the winner of Top 50 Engineers in Sustainability 2020 and included in the Northern Power Women Future List 2020. Laura has said, "I thrive on problem solving and providing solutions, even better if it helps other people save the world, create energy and jobs, while building amazing return on investment." So definitely looking forward to speaking and to hearing what our inspirational Laura has to say. We have Marie Woods. Marie studied BA Archaeology and MA Heritage Practice at the University of Wales in Lampeter. Marie is a director of Heritage Adventures, a company that specialises in heritage outreach and education and delivers a suite of archaeological services. So really keen to hear what Marie has to say. And we have Lottie Macfarlane. For the last 6 years, Lottie's been co-founder and director of Yay Coffee, a specialty coffee business based here in Scarborough, established in 2015 with the aim of building community over cups of caffeinated happiness. And I know that many people have been inspired by having coffee in Yay Coffee. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Laura. So Laura, business can be tough, business can be lonely. What are the main challenges that you face? What traits do you believe are specifically relevant for women in business, but also in your experience, Laura?
So I've not had a natural journey, let's be honest. And thank you for the introduction, but I've got to say a big thank you for everybody here today to be having this conversation, because I think that is what we miss out on. And for networks to be able to sit down and actually do something positive. And it's in Scarborough. Why aren't we celebrating that? So in business, it's took a lot of turns that I've had through my career. And I've had a lot of passion for different areas, and sustainability was really important to me in what I was doing. But being a mother of 3 and a single mum, I didn't get that chance. You know, it was something where you've got to pay the bills, you're slave to a wage, and you don't get that chance of freedom to run your own business. As life went by, I realised that it was important to actually do something for myself, and because of the passion I had for sustainability. I did a master's 10 years ago in future design, and it made me look at plastics and what was happening with the world. And again, I didn't have the finance to run my own business. So I got to a point where I thought, right, hang on a second, what balance is there here? What's stopping me doing what I want to do? Actually, nothing. It's you. It's you that's stopping you doing what you're doing. So we are victims of our own success, let's be honest. So I decided that I wanted to start a business that was going to recycle plastics. But I was in quite a big organisation, and they had 13 million birds. This is how it started, it's quite funny. And they all had faeces, nice, and it cost a lot of money to get rid of that waste. And so Laura bin Laura, thinking quite straightforward, how can I take that waste and create energy? So I looked into this and I researched and looked at biomass, but realised it wasn't sustainable. So then started to look into other technology. And I just thought, hang on a second, we're missing a massive beat here. Why aren't we creating energy from waste without emissions, without burning? And then I thought, right, I'm going to do this for myself. And then I realised, unless you've been 30 years in the waste industry, you're male, sorry guys, you're all my allies, but if you're male, you're pale and you're stale, you've got no chance. And I thought, I'm quite driven. So I thought, well, hell, I'm going to prove you wrong. So got involved, but then realised how hard it was to be a female founder. And unless you had males on your board or as directors, people didn't want to fund you because you've got a bonkers idea and, oh, well, that's a bit of a risk. We don't really want to back that. But it's green and we're doing something amazing and we're creating great goods and we're doing it without emissions. Why wouldn't you? Well, you know, we're taking a bit of a risk with you. So I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to paddle my own canoe and I'm going to do this. And so, again, going back to those things, there was massive, massive barriers in place, especially through COVID. So what has COVID taught me was there was time to be tenacious more than anything. There was time to, you know, really, really pivot and think differently to survive. And we've all had to do that. You know, it was the first time the world had ever stopped. So we had to think differently. And we're on the front line. We deal with waste, so we had to be there every day. Also, empathy. It taught me so much about empathy. People in this journey for the last year have had to walk in everybody's shoes. And, you know, it's not just my journey, it's all the people that worked for me. What could I do differently? So I opened different businesses where we could transfer skills, because the jobs that we have are jobs for life. I don't want people to be laid off 5 to 6 times. I want them to come and work for me and have skills for life for the future, but also be dealing with legacy waste as well, so waste from the past. So the jobs for life and jobs for the future, but, you know, that can carry this on, because I believe that people should be upskilled and empowered and be able to go on and do their own businesses too. And so that taught me a lot in the last, you know, sort of year. But also, I'll say to anybody, for the people that are sat here right now, you know, you've got up this morning to come and listen to this, and, you know, you've made that decision. So I'll say to anybody, it's the courage and the bravery to be creating these businesses in one of the world's toughest times. So there's a lot we've taken from that I'd say are skills that we've got to help each other recognise those skills, to be able to be brave in business. I think that's something that I've really took from this year.
Yeah, fantastic, amazing. Thank you for that definite inspiration, Laura. Thank you. Lottie, tell us a bit about the wonderful Yay Coffee and a bit about your journey and the challenges that you've faced and overcome, and what particular traits you think have helped you overcome those challenges.
Well, to start with, I was not a coffee person. I never thought I would ever be a coffee person, and now I am one. I did a French and linguistics science degree, and I thought I was going to float down the Mediterranean, you know, maybe marry a Frenchman, speak French forever, and that would be me, done. But alas, no. I don't regret it for a second. But I met my now husband before I graduated, and then we got married the summer after I graduated. And we were both working very glamorously as waiter and waitress at Ask on the Seafront, actually. It's a good spot. And so we were working there. And And while we were there, we realised we were flat out all summer, and Scarborough is a fantastic town. It's absolutely amazing, but so many people don't see the potential in it. They don't realise how much there actually is here, and how many amazing people are kind of hiding under the surface a little bit. And we never got a chance to chat with anybody because we were, serving pizzas all day, running around 12 hours doing whatever it is that we did, flinging strombolis at people left, right and centre. And thought, well, actually, community is so important, and coffee is a fantastic medium to build community through. And I was looking down the list of speakers actually for this weekend, realising how many people have been regular customers at our Now shops. And we've seen that happen elsewhere, which is where we got the idea from, because we thought, well, specialty coffee as it is, as opposed to commodity grade, which Costa and that such like serve. There's a thriving coffee community in London and in bigger cities, but it hadn't quite got to Scarborough yet. And we did some research and realised that Scarborough historically is about a decade behind everywhere else in terms of the things that it adopts. And we thought, well, why does that have to be? Why does that have to be the case? Why does it have to take 10 years for good coffee to arrive in Scarborough? And obviously there are people doing good stuff already, don't want to detract from that at all. But the model that we'd seen was slightly different, and so we thought, well, actually, why not? But then we realised, well, there's a lot of reasons why not. A, we have no money. B, is there a market for it? Do we actually have people that will come? We don't know. And so we started to research. And whilst the logo that we've got says established 2015, in reality, it was well over a year before that point when the idea started to form. But all we had to do was take a step. We thought, okay, well, we've got this idea. Let's just go and have a look at the premises. We didn't know if it would be the premises. We found one that we thought might be okay, had a look at it, wasn't the right one, thought, okay, it's not the right one, let's have a look at a different one. So we ended up going through 3 or 4 different premises that we thought might be the one, and we got so excited, like, yes, this could be it. And then it wasn't for various reasons, usually drainage, but it's a very hospitality-related kind of problem. But yeah, we went through premises after premises, trying to find the right one, and at the same time, we're drawing up a business plan so that it was watertight, because hospitality is an industry people do not like to finance because it's infinitely risky, especially something, well, for company directors who have very little experience in coffee at that point. We knew we were passionate about it and we knew how to make it, but had no commercial experience selling it yet. And so we realised we weren't going to get finance from a bank traditionally, so first we had to draw up a watertight plan, and then we went to friends and family and begged, borrowed and stole what we needed to get part of the money so that then we could go to the bank and say, look, these people thought our idea was credible. And I guess that's a challenge that hospitality can face sometimes, is when you've got an idea to find the money to do it, because so many businesses go under so fast, it's ridiculous, and the turnaround of businesses is just crazy. But eventually we managed to get hold of the money, which wasn't very much, but it was enough to get us started. And then we found the premises that we weren't looking for, and we wandered past it and thought, ooh, it's always about that, ooh, maybe this could be something. Is this something? I'm not sure. Is it something? But let's go and see. Let's have a look. Let's get the ball rolling. And then once you get the ball rolling, it's much easier to keep the ball rolling. And so we went and had a look and thought, yep, this is it. And it was a tiny little basement off York Place. At that point, it's just on the other side of the town centre. And it wasn't the perfect place. We thought, well, how can we make this what we need it to be? And so then, well, we built it with a low budget. We built all the tables and put the graft in to get it done and got the training alongside that. And then, yeah, Coffee was formed. And it's been an amazing journey. And we've switched locations twice. And then, thanks to a COVID pandemic, realised it was going to be a long time before it was going to be profitable again. So we thought, right, okay, let's do something else. So we shut the shop, which was slightly terrifying because that was our comfort zone. And basically stuck our shop into the back of a Bedford Rascal. So now we have a mobile trading business. I say we just stuck it in. I didn't do any of the actual building. And actually that's something else that's really important, is that I have a team. It's not just me, it's very much me and my husband Rob. Like he's the technical guy, he's the guy that knows how to build things, and I do all the social media in the back of house and the making things look pretty and raising the children. That's my job. And so our roles are quite different. Sometimes they're slightly interchangeable, but if anything, I've realised that without a team, there's literally no chance. And without people around me to support me and sustain me, And for both of us, actually, the coffee business, as soon as we mentioned to a couple of people we perhaps shouldn't have mentioned it to, oh, we're going to set up a coffee shop in Scarborough, they were like, oh, Scarborough doesn't need any more coffee shops, it doesn't need any more, there's too many already. And so we thought, well, actually, yes, but no, there's a different route you can go down. So if anything, pick the right people to surround yourself with. Obviously, don't be ignorant of people who are very wise and say, are you sure this is actually going to make you money? And make sure you know that the plan is going to work, theoretically at least, because in reality it can always go wrong, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, just surround yourself with team and the right people. And we're at the point now where we had a full team. We had, for a small coffee shop, we had 3 full-time staff, and it was all very good on the surface, but it's your job as a hospitality person to never have a bad day. And there's a lot of challenges that go on under the surface that people just don't see, because it's not your job to broadcast those across social media, like, hey, today everything sucks, it's really bad. But yeah, so we had an amazing team, and then we had to let it go because we moved, and then we couldn't really afford to hire anybody else. And I think for hospitality, the issue is finding the right people that you can actually afford to pay, because margins in specialty coffee are incredibly low. So at the minute, we are, the mobile trading for us has been fantastic because it's actually sustainable. And for the first time in the last 5 or 6 years, I don't feel like I'm constantly fighting fires. And it's all thanks to COVID, really, which is amazing. And we're at the point now is looking at how do we build, how do we make it sustainable, how do we train people up to do the jobs that we currently do that we're not the best at. We do them because we need to, because we're a startup business, effectively again. But how do we find those people? How do we pay them enough to do the jobs that need to be done? For example, I've started outsourcing things like paperwork because I've got 2 small children and it's a lot harder to organise receipts than it used to be. So that's outsourced. I've got my accountant being amazing on the side. And we've got people around us that, you know, are just fantastically encouraging. And yeah, I've also got a husband that works alongside me, which is a crash course in marriage. But yeah, so we can bandy ideas off each other, and all it is an idea, and you just give it a go. And it doesn't matter if it's coffee. I mean, we've pivoted, I hate that word pivot so much, but we have, and changed the idea because it's not necessarily about the specific product. It's about the reason behind the product, and it's about building community for us more than anything else. And the medium we might use might be a bit different sometimes, depending on where we are or how we need to go about it. But yeah, the core values are the same. So yeah, we're living and learning. There's lots to learn, always lots to learn. And we're excited about what's next. We're a small business with very, very, very big ideas, alarmingly big sometimes. Yeah, so we're just, at the minute it feels like we're taking stock, we're holding back a little bit, so we're building sustainably. The foundations have to be really, really solid so that then we're ready to full on smash it. Because we're getting to the point now where we're just ready to go. And we've had to stop caring so much about what is normal, what people do, and how things are just done in inverted commas, because we've never really done things like people are supposed to do them. So we thought, you know what, stuff it in the nicest possible sense. We'll give it a go. And if it goes wrong, so what? Because the worst we can do is fail, and then we'll just pick it up and start again in another form. So yes.
I love that, the big ideas we have that are so motivating for us. That's what keeps us going. And as you say there, Lottie, it doesn't matter so much about what people think, the naysayers, if you like, if you've got this really big motivational goal. It's what Jim Collins in his book Good to Great, he talks about BHAGs, so the big, hairy, audacious goal that gets you fired up and out of bed every morning. Thank you, Lottie. Marie,
yes.
Please can you share with us some of your business journey and some of the challenges that you've had to overcome to make it a success?
Okay, so I think first things first, that heritage, archaeology, history is always a weird concept to try and sell to people. So I set up Heritage Adventures in 2015, mainly as a response to coming out of university. I just graduated from my MA. There were no jobs, and everyone said, oh, do an MA because, you know, afterwards you're more guaranteed to land your perfect career. well, it didn't happen. I spent a lot of time applying, spending hours upon hours, you know, preparing CVs, writing all these tedious online applications and was getting nowhere. And I thought, why am I doing this? Because after every rejection or after every non-response, it just got to the point where I can't sit here. I need to be determined. I need to be proactive. If I'm not going to get somewhere anywhere else, I'm going to make sure that I set myself on a career path that I want to get to. So it got to December, and it was 2 days before Christmas. I'd had one of my final pay slips from my previous job, which was pitiful, and I looked at my pension and I thought, well, I'll go on, there's only £200 in there, that'll be enough to start it up. So I used my pension fund to set up Heritage Adventures. I bought the domain name for the website, I set it all up with Company's House, and that was it, and I didn't really look back. It got to 2016, I was brand new in Scarborough, I was trying to network myself, I joined local societies, I started talking to different people, friends with connections, to say, look, I've just set this up, I want to kind of revitalise the way in which heritage education is looked at in schools, as well as across museums. I enjoyed doing post-excavation work, which is where you look at all the finds and everything. I'd engage people in a different way. And for whatever reason, it just never really got there. And so there were several moments where I took a step back and I think, oh, what am I doing? Is this the right choice? Should I just completely jack it all in? Should I start applying for jobs again? And I mean, with Lottie saying about, having the people around you, my parents, my aunt, my friends were my fantastic support network. My number one fan is in the audience this evening. And so it's kind of, having that support network kind of really drove me to continue to accomplish what I wanted to. But the financial part was my biggest setback, really. Going to several banks with a complete business plan where I'd outlined everything to the nth degree, what I felt my profits would be. And I'd sit down in front of them and they would just say, what is it you're doing? I'm thinking, well, it's when, don't you just dig? Well, no, and archaeology is a lot more than that, heritage is a lot more than that. And they'd look at me and, I'd go in like trying to look professional and I'd wear like a little suit and, trying to act all like the kind of the macho business person to try and put on this male persona of, actually I know what I'm on about, because a lot of the time I would sit down in front of men in banks and they would kind of look me up and down and some of them would say, oh, you've got very clean hands. What's that got to do with my business plan? I'm here to ask you for money to set up something that could potentially change the way in which children learn, the way in which people can connect with their past, communities can get involved with different projects, and here you are judging my nails. Okay. So out of that, several things I thought, right, okay, where else can I go for funding? How am I going to make this sustainable? How am I going to build it into something? And then I met two fantastic people at Wood End who kind of took me under their wing, who helped me, because I was brand new to this. I come out of a museum job and thinking, oh no, and then they were saying, right, okay, what is it that you want to do? How can we help you? So they set up a desk for me in their office. They were saying, right, okay, we'll set you some hours, we can have a look at this, we can go through business plans, because they've done it, they've been running their own business for quite a while and were really successful, and within the world of education as well. So we had a lot of shared interests and conversations over Yay Coffee as well. So it was really, really helpful to have an outside support network. And then they were saying, right, okay, shall we help you look for some funding? Because, I didn't really know where to look for educational stuff. And they said, right, why don't you try the Prince's Trust? But again, heritage and archaeology seems to be this bizarre thing that's out there that nobody really understands. They like it when they see it on TV, when they're looking at Time Team, or when, they've got an excavation maybe going on down the street. But in the actual real world, it doesn't seem to be this known entity. So it's been that's been one of my biggest challenges that way. And, I didn't get anything from the Prince's Trust, so I thought, oh no, so I ended up going back to work. And I just got a job in a local school, Because I'm thinking, well, if I'm not going to do the business, if it's not going to take off, maybe I'll just go into teaching. Because, that's kind of everyone's fallback, really. If I don't have a job, what am I going to do? I'll teach. And I think teaching is supposed to be a calling, so it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. But it gave me that little platform, that little comfort zone. So, I'd finish at 3:30, I'd come home, I'd work on the business, I'd start thinking about what things, I'd start to plan my monthly bills to accommodate buying resources, setting up marketing supplies. And then somehow, by pure miracle, I think, I just ended up talking to the right person one day, and they said, oh, there are some grants going, let's see if we can get you into it. And that completely changed everything, because just that little injection for a brand new website suddenly kick-started my whole journey, and that was in 2018. And since then, so I was training for a little while, I was doing archaeology bits, it was very bitty. And then the pandemic hit. And actually, I feel horrendous that actually there's been some success out of the pandemic. But at the same time, I've worked bloody hard to get to where I am. And, and in the world where archaeology and heritage is still dominated mainly by males, I think it's the first time in my life where I actually feel proud of what I've achieved, and I'm happy to sit here and say to you, I've made it, but again, it's having that support network behind me, people saying, don't give up, you can do this, you're determined, you're bullshit, just go out there and do it. And there's lots of people who know me who, from my school career, I've always been kind of dumbed down. It's oh, Marie, is that really what you want to do? You're very good, you've got a really good work ethic, but have you got the academic ability to take you there? And I think that's not what it's about. If you've got the passion and you've got the drive, don't listen to the people who automatically want to put you in an academic box. You don't have to be an academic to run a successful business. All you need is to be proactive, you need to be driven, you need to have a lot of self-belief as well. And I think one of the things that I've learned to do, quite quickly really, in the last couple of years, is grow a thicker skin. The amount of people who kind of, you'll work alongside certain groups, certain organisations, and, they're always there, oh, we've been in business a lot longer than you, trying to play with the big boys. It's well, actually, I'm doing something very different. I'm happy to do things, and I'm much more of a collaborator. I want to work with people. I want to develop different scenarios to tackle the issues that bigger, larger corporate companies just overlook because they're not bothered about the individual organisation. They're more bothered about chasing that money. And I think for me, yes, okay, I need to have a pay packet at the end of each month, but I enjoy working with those quieter voices to help them reach their other areas. So I think the successes that I've had recently is because I'm not going after those bigger chunks where I'm not interested. I want to work with those smaller people. I think that's where my success has grown, because there's only me in my company. Trying to recruit in Scarborough is really difficult. And then, when you're trying to make sure that you've got enough at the end of each month and factor it into, my insurance is crazy, crazy high because of what I offer. I give people the chance to excavate. I give children, more importantly, the chance to excavate on sites and learn about their history. There's no one else in this area that's allowing people to do that for free. Because that's my passion. I want to give people that opportunity. So, yeah, there's lots of challenges, there's lots of difficulties. But I'm happy being me. I'd love to recruit more people, because I do miss working with someone to say, have you thought about this? And, when you're delivering, coprolite work sessions for schools, it would be nice to have someone else kind of delivering that jokey aspect and bouncing things off, and the rewards of seeing children's faces.
Thank you,
I'm
Marie.
kind of blabbering on.
So it sounds like it's an amazing journey, and I think all of us here have been talking about the importance of having that big belief, that inner belief, but also being persistent and tenacious, and and having that confidence. But one of the things that I've found in myself and in the people that I work with, that, you know, you can get those mind niggles, those little mind worms that maybe can detract from your confidence. So how do you overcome those moments when people around you are saying, this isn't possible, or we don't want you to try that, or maybe somehow trying to hold you back? How do you get over that self-doubt, those mind worms?
I think it's about, one, having a number one fan behind you. You know, that one person who can say, okay, you've had a little bit of a setback now, but look at what you've achieved when it's just you, or in those first steps. And the fact that it's the small victories for me. You know, okay, I've had an email today, an inquiry. Yes, someone's found out about me. How have they found out about me? And it's that little bit, and it's taking triumph and victory in those smaller steps that will help you progress the next bit.
Yeah. Thank you. What about you, Lottie? How do you overcome those? I've called it mind worms. How do you overcome mind worms?
I tend to be a bit of an external processor, so I usually to my poor husband, just go blah and let it all out. And then in the process of doing that, I realise what I've said and how what I've said is maybe negative or not quite the attitude I should have had about a situation. And then think, well, actually, does that attitude line up with my purpose? Does that attitude line up with where we want to go? And there's a phrase, you know, without vision, people perish. And it's exactly right. Because unless you know where you want to go, you'll go anywhere. And unless you have a clear-cut vision as to what you want to achieve, not necessarily the product you want to sell, whatever, but unless you know what you're about and why you're about it, you'll be dragged left, right, and centre. And when setbacks come, which they do, they always do, usually when you least want them to, which is how setbacks work, I guess, unless you know where you're going, you won't get there, because you'll have someone come in and say, hey, I don't think that's necessarily going to work, or are you sure this is going to line up with X, Y, and Z, or is that really a good idea? That's a bit risky. And yeah, you just have to know what you're doing, but also, yeah, having that network of people that you know, whether or not they necessarily agree with you all the time isn't always the thing, but you know that they've got your back, and that you can be open and honest with, having those people that you can share the ups and the downs, and like Marie said, the little things. You know, when we get a review on TripAdvisor, we don't have TripAdvisor anymore, thank goodness, but you know, those people that you can say, yes, we got a 5-star review, it was amazing, or we've got a 3-star review. That's like, I think we got a 1-star review once, and I still remember the words that it said. And that's the thing, you can dwell so much on the negative. And actually, I look at our historic TripAdvisor page, and you know, 99% of the reviews are incredibly positive, and it's exactly what it's really warm and inviting. The people are there, that we love the passion about the product and the atmosphere that's created. And then there's that one review that says they were really cold and frosty, and I was like, were we? And it makes you question it was just one person and their opinion, and I don't know quite how they reached that opinion, but they did. But I'm learning to shake it off more, and to realise that, yeah, not everyone will always agree with you. Yeah. And not everyone's always right either. We're not always right. But yeah, it's learning to, have the right people, know where you're going, and shake off the stuff that you know isn't quite as it should be. Yeah,
fantastic. Thank you. And Laura, what about you? Mind worms?
Yeah, definitely. There's some imposter syndrome, we like to call it, where am I good enough? Am I good enough? And I'm going to give you a scenario that was really funny. When we sat in the room earlier, we were talking about our bios. Immediately, you could see these women just curl up like, oh God, do you really want to say that about me? Yes, hell yes, you've done some amazing things. And I said about this, we've got to start shaking our own pom-poms, because people nobody else is going to do it for you. You've got to do it for yourself. And it took me 40 years to recognise we do amazing things, all of us, in our own way, and they could be tiny things. But we've got to actually say, do you know what, well done, because nobody else is going to do that. They're going to dumb you down. And my driver is, when I first started up, and Guy will laugh at this, is in the office, one of our big regulators, this very staunch gentleman, let's say, walked in and went, you young lady, you're fresh out of kindergarten, you'll never do this. That was the best thing that could ever happen, because I tell you what, I sprung out of bed every single day after that to prove him wrong. And I still do every day now. And every time something goes wrong, we don't do failure on our site, because it's growth. That is growth to us. For every time something goes wrong, just say, high five, yep, that didn't work, but guess how I'll do it next time. People are so scared of failure, and we need to get over that as well. Just get over it and just move on, because that's how we learn to do the next great thing. And that, for us, is innovation, and that's how ideas are born, because you've got to look at how it doesn't work, and that's what we've done in our industry. Yeah, loads of other people are trying to do it, but where are they failing, and how can we do that better? And I think, as ladies, not being rude, we're bloody good at that. We're really good at looking at that and fixing it and solutions. So let's put that into our work and let's move that forward in business. And you know what? It changes the world, because that is where we're going wrong right now, is we're not looking at why it's failing. We're looking at all the good things. We're not looking at all the bad things and thinking, how can we fix that? So I think we need to start shaking those pom-poms a little bit more.
I think that's fantastic, Laura. And I absolutely agree. That's how we learnt to walk, wasn't it? We tried to get up, we fell down. We tried again, we fell down. But we just carried on, and you learn. That's, you know, and it's how I say it's how a turtle moves forward, by sticking its neck out. That's what we need to do. What about the future? What opportunities for us now as women in business, Laura, do you see in terms of developing business going forward now into this future? Because everything's changed or nothing has changed? How can we change things?
They say the new norm. I hated normal. I thought normal was broken, to be fair. I don't quite like the building back better mantra either, because do you know what? Do we want to build that back? No, I don't. I want to do it differently. I want to look at the things that we can do differently. So I like the new future. I like the idea of we take the good bits that we've learned over the year, because, God, it's been hard, and we take that forward as leaders in our roles, and we can help other people. So the one thing for me when we talk about the future is future-proofing. We don't want to go back to this broken, or whatever they want to call it. We want to make sure that the steps we put in place now are there for life, and take the positive things that we've learned from this and be able to embrace that into everything we do. So even our small businesses, this doesn't have to be big steps. These can be little things like we were saying about childcare or working from home, or it's okay that your kid comes in on a Zoom and says, Mum, I've had a poo. You know, it's okay for that to happen now. We've got acceptance that we are human and that we can show empathy, but also about the decisions we make going forwards for the future. That, you know, I love the fact we all feel guilty when we say COVID was a good thing, and I could see you were cringing a little bit, Lottie. Yeah, it gave me finance I never had the opportunity of, and I think a lot of startups would have been the same. We got to open a door financially that was like a domino effect, and once we had, let's say, 25 grand from the bibbles that I couldn't get from the bank, it then opened other doors for me to make investment. I've never got government funding. I never ticked that box. We paddle our own canoe, but it opened up a domino effect. And so for the future, I'd like to think our business is growing massively now, and we're in a real rapid growth, which is hard. It's actually harder than having a very successful business, because it's a balance, because we're only new. And I'd like to think we're going to take those things, empower others, so help everybody that is trying to start up, because we know what those barriers are. What can we do to change those barriers? Work on the finance. You know, I'd like to think we'll be in a position where we can offer the bank of law, or whatever that is, and actually look to the people that are trying to be innovative and are taking those risks and saying, do you know what? I'll punt on you because I love your business model. It's because it's not in the box that we're going to tick it. So let's change a few things, and let's help people be brave, be courageous, because they've got that far. So we need to change that model massively for the future.
Yeah, I love that. And the idea of giving back, I think, is becoming more and more important in just in our psyche, I think. You know, it's gone are the days we just want to make money in our business. We want to make it so that we can contribute more and give back more. Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. How about Lottie Marie, how about the future? What opportunities are there for women in business now to shape our future?
I'll go first.
Go on, Lottie, go for it.
Oh, there's so many things. Future. What is the future? For hospitality at the minute, it's a time of, like Laura said, it's the rebuild thing. I don't really want to rebuild. We changed our business model entirely, and I've got no intention of going back to how it was, because historically, we're so used to being burnt out all the time. We're so used to just being so tired all the time. And I'm tired now because I've got children and I did a wedding yesterday. But, you know, there shouldn't have to be this pressure to always be doing things that you think you should do but don't necessarily want to do. And we just thought, you know what, we're going to do what we're passionate about, we're going to do what we want to do, and that for me is the future. And actually we can waste a lot of time, like waste a ton of time trying to conform to what people expect of you. Like with our coffee shops, it was always, oh, you should do more food. How about you introduce eggs? Is a very practical example. People kept talking about eggs, who knows why. But you know, you could do this thing and that thing and the other thing. And because we weren't really 100% sure, we went along with it and we introduced things that maybe we shouldn't have introduced. But thanks to COVID and the complete clean break it gave us, we had a chance to go right back to the core, what is it that we want to do? And we don't really want to do food, we want to do coffee and community, and that's what we're about now. So we're building for the future in terms of sustainability, and we're currently hiring, if anybody wants a job. We're looking for someone who can come alongside us and run the coffee truck, because we've got lots of other things that we want to be doing, but we can't do that until we've got the right team. But again, we're not prepared to rush. You know, we want to take our time to find the right person that shares those values. And like Marie said in Scarborough, it can sometimes be a challenge, but relocation is an option. It's building on the things that you're passionate about, and it takes time. And we've only been doing it for 5 years, which actually is a drop in the ocean, really, in comparison to how long some people have been in business for. And it's remembering that. And it's like Laura said, taking what was good and letting go of all the stuff that you either, it didn't work or you didn't really care about, and just not picking it up again, and running with what you're passionate about, and trusting, taking a punt, trusting that actually it will be okay. And I know that future-wise, we want to get to the point where we've got a team who are better at what we do than we are, because we know they're out there, and raise people up, train them from scratch if we need to. We're not quite there with that yet, but we want to train people to do our jobs better so that we can grow that way. We don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, we didn't see this last year coming, and it's just been one thing after another. But yeah, raising people up and training people and helping other people, I think, to realise that you can have a go. You can do it. It is possible. And even if it might not always work, you figure out what didn't work, you have another go, and just letting go of a fear of failure, I guess. It's easier said than done, a lot easier said than done, because I know that I second guess myself like a champion. But that's what a team is for, again. It's just giving it all a shot, and building sustainably so you don't wear yourself out. I'm sorry, Marie. And just learning to say no to things, and to not give in to the pressure, because I've got a 3.5-year-old and an 8-month-old who's currently at home with his dad. Yes. But it's for me, it's learning to take a step back, because I used to bake. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and bake all my cakes for the day, and then I'd go to the shop and I'd do a whole day's worth of shifts with my baby on my back. And I don't want to do that anymore, because I want to actually be able to enjoy my children and do the other things too. So I've let go of the baking, because I like cakes a lot, granted, but I didn't want to bake them. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just not going to do that anymore, because I don't want to. And so we found other people that can do that instead. And so it's just, having the courage of conviction, I suppose. And then growth sort of happens.
I think also, so for me personally, just working with business owners and their teams in the last 7 years, however long I've been doing it, during this last year and a bit, what's become clear to me and what emerged for me was a new idea for doing business. So, you know, traditionally, business has been about making a profit. That's what businesses have to do, make a profit. But what can happen as a result of that is that we can get burnt out. You know, and I think this time has taken, this time has been a good opportunity to reflect on that. And I actually came up with a term, which I'm now banding around, called business well-being, which is not just about focusing on the financial growth of your business, but it's about a more holistic, I guess, approach. It's about building great relationships that we've been talking about, to have those supportive people around you. It's about abundance. It's like knowing there's enough for everybody and wanting to share that with people. It's not being fussed about the competition. There is no competition. There's plenty for everybody. So have an abundant mindset, wanting to give as well as to receive. And also about learning and growing. So the failure, the mistakes, it's all opportunities for growth. And if a business isn't growing, it's actually dying, and the easiest way to grow is to learn. So the easiest way to learn is by making mistakes. That's how we learn. And going on the courses and reading books and learning from each other. The other principle, I think, which I'd love to ask our panel members about before we close, is is about having fun. So, you know, business can be lonely and it can be tough and isolating, but I personally think that we've got to get fun back into it. If it's not fun, why are we doing it? You know, to move on. So how can we make time for fun every day? Go on then, tell us, Laura.
It's really bizarre, but obviously I come from an art and design background, just poking over here, and have been taught by this gentleman in my past. And I think you have to make that part of your day. And whether, obviously in what we do, there's a lot of design-led engineering thinking. But something we do, as COVID gave me the chance to look at our ecosystem of our business and how we interact as a team, because team for us is pivotal. Without my team, I'm nobody. It's as simple as that. And I have a workforce of long-term unemployed, ex-offenders, people that have had a second chance, let's say, or disabilities, and we have a really diverse workforce. It's beautiful. They're different minds that are together, because that is what gives us innovative thinking. Yeah. And to bring that fun back, we literally work as a team. We'll sit down and you can see them all going, oh God, she's taking me in the boardroom again. Oh no, she's gonna get the big pens out. It's not how everybody works, but they've learned that together our minds are so much more fun and innovative, and the ideas. So we make that a part of what we do. So Monday boring meetings and Friday boring meetings are ideas generation. So everybody gets the chance to put something into that. And as much as they're probably thinking, oh no, the big marker's coming out, they offer something. And that brings that element. Yeah, you can go on socials and you can go drinking or karting or whatever it is. It doesn't always suit. But also you can do things within your work day that bring that laughter back, because we've had a tough year. Yeah. We've had a very tough year. So yeah, it is important for mental health as well to maintain that definitely.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fear of the back markers.
It is. It's like, oh my God, there's a flip chart. Jesus, what's she doing? Yeah.
Love it. Marie, fun.
Okay, so I think this year has been quite interesting because in terms of fun, I treated the business, probably me, to 2 new sets of Roman armour. So whilst you sat there and you've got all these several reports that you're doing, watching briefs, etc., I just had to sit there and wear my Roman helmet. Because why not, you know? There's only me, and you've just got to get a little bit of fun out of something. So, yeah, I'm just happily sitting there.
I love that. And how would you recommend that, you know, people listening to this, or our audience today, should have more, or would like to have more fun in their business? Because we don't want the word should, because we want to have more fun in our business.
I think you've got to have days where you're not to take yourself too seriously. I think you can get bogged down in all the admin, the panic of making sure that you've got your finances sorted for each month. And I think it's just to take a step back and to think, you know, and going back to, you know, why are you doing it? You know, is it because you want to retire at the age of 40? Is it because you want to have that brand new Ferrari? Or is it because you just don't want to go back to doing the 9 to 5 every day and working for someone else and being a slave to someone else's demands? So I think for me, the fun is all about looking after yourself, so your business well-being, not just your business, but you, and just making sure that you just don't take yourself too seriously and just think you are doing it because this is what you love, this is your passion, this is what's important to you, and don't let all the other negative factors get in the way of where your success wants to be.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marie. And Lottie, so I remember we had lots of fun at Wood End when you were there with Timmy and he used to cycle around and entertain us. But how do you have fun now, now that your business model has changed slightly?
It feels like it's so much easier because I'm basically living my childhood dream. I love cars, like more than I've forgotten how much I love them, but I've rediscovered this love. So in the evenings, often when Rob's finished his day, we're just perusing eBay, looking at all the rusty old vehicles that we could now buy because we now have a trailer to transport them, which is very dangerous. But we're looking at these old cars, and last Sunday we thought, it wasn't last Sunday, anyway, we thought, what do we do for a day out? Let's go look at cars. So we drove over to Pickering and we had a look at this beautiful classic car showroom, Matthewson's, you may have heard of. But we just go and do things because actually what we're doing now and the business model lines up with our natural passions anyway. And yesterday we did this wedding and a few coffee people said to us, oh, don't do weddings because they're just such hard work and, well, they're rubbish generally. But it was honestly the best day we've had in ages because palmed off the children, well, one of the children and the dog to some other people. And it was me and Rob and the baby, and we just went, we drove over to York, we left quite early and we came back quite late. But we had so much fun because it's doing things together and it's doing things that you enjoy. And it sounds so cliche, but when you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And of course there are days when you really, really feel like you're working because you just are so tired or whatever. But yeah, yesterday was a prime example. We came back shattered, but we'd had the best day. And I was pegging it across Tesco car park with a new cool box we bought the day before because we realised how hot it was going to be. So I wiped them out of ice so we could go and change the drinks menu at the last minute for the wedding because we thought, well, no one's going to want hot coffee on a day like this. So yeah, I was just laughing. I was running across boiling hot in the middle of Tesco car park trying to find this ice, and the baby was attached to me and it was all so sweaty, it's ridiculous. But it's those things, and it's learning to laugh about the little things and just relax a bit. And because I can get quite uptight by default, and Rob is my sort of measured, let's just take it down a notch, just take it down a notch. And that's what team is for again. But yeah, just relaxing and enjoying if you can, enjoy what you do it. And find those fun things that, bring a little bit of joy into your day.
Love it. Thank you, Lottie. And so as we just come to the close now of our session on fueling future businesses, I'd just like to thank our inspirational women in business here and just ask you for your last words, please. So, we've listened to your wonderful, amazing journeys, some of the challenges that you've faced and overcome, and other thoughts too about the future. What are your last words? What would you like to say to other women in business, but business generally right now, Laura?
Be brave, be bold, and believe in yourself. Simple as that.
Yeah, love that. Anything from over here, Lottie?
Just
Final
do
words.
it.
Just do it.
Yeah, it's quite a cliched phrase. It's very well used.
Been there just before. Just do it. I was just thinking.
Yeah.
I think for me it's not just about for women in business now, but for potential women who are going to go into business. Don't listen to the people who are going to try and talk you out of it, where they say, oh, go down a different path for it. If this is what you want, if it's something that you want to try, just try it. There is only the way to go up.
Fantastic. And my last word be just carry on having fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.